to the victims and survivors of child sexual abuse and grooming gangs that I am very sorry for those remarks, as I made clear over the weekend. I and every member of this government want your truth to be heard. I would never want, Mr. Speaker, to leave the impression that these very serious, profound and far-reaching issues, which I have campaigned on for many years, should be shied away from and not aired. Far from it. No stone will be left unturned.
General Secretary of the GMB Trade Union have both denounced the government's decision to ban offshore licences in the North Sea. Yeah. Blair described it as a, quote, irrational policy, which I quote, doomed to failure, the backlash to which threatened to derail the whole agenda. He said it was caused by ministers afraid of being cast as climate deniers. He's not talking about the Secretary of State for Energy, of course. He's talking about all the ministers and MPs on the government benches who know better but are too frit to say so. Yeah. On his side, Gary Smith said that climate fundamentalism, that is the Secretary of State for Energy, would accelerate the decline of domestic oil and gas production and increase our dependency on gas imports, right, directly contrary to the government's supposed growth strategy. Yeah. As he pointed out, and I quote, across society, bill payers will question why they are subsidising a domestic clean power sprint that is offshoring UK jobs and value. And only today, we've had the news that Ørsted are mothballing their giant new offshore wind farm, as they have made clear they are holding out for even greater subsidies, knowing that the Secretary of State has no choice, and has said, in effect, that he has no choice if he wants to hit his targets. Now, Mr. Speaker, we all want a just and rapid energy transition, but does the leader not think that the words of Tony Blair and Gary Smith are simple common sense? And there is one other issue which I think we should highlight. The Leader of the House has received universal condemnation for dismissing concerns about grooming gangs as, quote, dog whistle politics. In response, she put out a tweet that conspicuously did not contain an apology for what she had said. The Secretary of State for Health said her remarks were indefensible, but the truth is that she's talked in the same way about grooming gangs from the dispatch box when she accused people of jumping on bandwagons on January the 9th of this year in Business Questions. I hope we can agree now that this is an extremely serious national issue, and that no one, whether or not they hold public office, should be deflecting or denying its seriousness. And I hope that in her response now, the Leader of the House will put aside party politics, avoid criticising others, and speak from the heart. So I ask her, has she now watched the Channel 4 documentary? And if so, how does she feel about it? Does she agree that the dismissal of these entirely valid concerns has been one of the factors behind what even today remains a huge, continuing national scandal? Will she now back the call of many victims for a comprehensive national inquiry into grooming gangs? And finally, would she like to take this opportunity now to speak directly to the hundreds of vulnerable women involved and say sorry?
The House.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I just want to say further to your statement that on the US trade deal developments, talks have been and are continuing at pace, and the House will be updated with your permission, Mr. Speaker, later today. I will come on to VE Day shortly, but can I first of all address the remarks from the Honourable gentleman? Can I actually thank him for raising with me what I said in an episode of Any Questions last week, so I can be absolutely clear with the House today, especially to the victims and survivors of child sexual abuse and grooming gangs, that I am very sorry for those remarks, as I made clear over the weekend. I and every member of this government want your truth to be heard, wherever that truth leads. Your truly appalling experiences need to be acted on, for those responsible to be accountable and face the full force of the law, and for justice to be served. I would never want, Mr. Speaker, to leave the impression that these very serious, profound and far-reaching issues which I have campaigned on for many years should be shied away from and not aired. Far from it. No stone will be left unturned. And what the victims want, first and foremost, is for action to be taken and for the many, many recommendations from the previous inquiries to be implemented in full, including mandatory reporting of child sexual abuse, something I have called for nearly a decade. Shockingly, these recommendations remain sitting on the shelf until we came into government last year. Baroness Louise Casey, who conducted the no-hold-bars inquiry into Rotherham, is carrying out an audit on the scale, nature and characteristics of grooming gangs. She will be reporting soon. And this will include the questions of ethnicity as well. Every police force in England and Wales has been asked to look again at historic grooming gangs cases, and they will be reopened where it is appropriate to get perpetrators behind bars. So I hope the House is left in no doubt, Mr. Speaker, of my commitment to these issues and my apology to those victims for any distress I have caused them.
Many members of the grooming and rape gangs that systematically abused white working-class girls have never faced justice, and neither have the councillors, officials and police officers suspected of collusion and cover-up. So can we have a debate on the need for a national inquiry into these disgusting crimes? And will the leader tell us, please, who exactly it is she believes is using these horrors as a, I quote, dog whistle?
Well, we are all, everybody up and down this country, are horrified about the crimes that have been committed over many, many years by despicable grooming gangs. And that's why we are, first and foremost, are implementing the many, many recommendations from the recent inquiries, many of which, most of which, in fact, sat on the shelf until the general election last year. Those recommendations include issues like mandatory reporting of child sexual abuse, something that I've campaigned on, the Prime Minister, the Home Secretary and the Safeguarding Minister have campaigned on for many, many years. We will leave no stone unturned to ensure that the truth and justice and accountability is got wherever it is needed for those victims of these terrible atrocities.
Yeah.